Hello class, my name is Nicholas Akkad. Today is June 10th, 2021. When you think of ancient warrior goddesses of love, who comes to mind? I think of Astarte and Ishtar. These are both very similar gods in symbolism, however they are very different at times. While we were learning about ancient civilizations in class, it became more apparent to me that goddesses could be derived from each other at times, and be very different at others. This probed my interest, so I decided to research on it. Astarte and Ishtar are both warrior goddesses of love. Very similar in nature, yet how do the followers, their rituals, and their worship of the goddesses show the difference between the two? These goddesses have very similar natures, and yet they have a different morality and different follower rituals. On one hand, both of these goddesses are very similar. Many goddesses of this type, being the warrior goddesses or the goddesses of love, tend to blend in with one another. Stephanie Boudin, a professor of history at the University of New Jersey, is an expert at religious synchronism, or the coming together or fusing of religions. In her article, A Reconsideration of the Aphrodite-Astarte Synchronism, she tells us of how cultures can come together and fuse their religions when they are close proximity. This can end up with gods being fused together into new entities, or two gods becoming one, with different stories, but using two different names. This is because cultures tend to assign motifs or symbols to each of their gods. In this case, it would be the warrior goddesses or the goddesses of love. Now, on the other hand, these goddesses are quite different from the way the followers portray them, especially as time goes on. Boudin states in certain religious documents that Ishtar and Astarte are one and the same. However, over time, as we've analyzed more documents, Astarte came out of Ishtar's shadow and became a new entity completely. This is shown as when she's officially paired with another warrior goddess of love, which is Anat. In their meeting of the two goddesses, Anat really took the erotic side and the warrior goddess side that Astarte had as her own motifs. And meanwhile, Astarte started to take on the huntress and goddess of love, just not on the erotic side, as her own motifs. This is quite similar to the other goddesses of Greek origin, being Aphrodite, which would be Anat's counterpart, and Artemis, which would be Astarte's counterpart. Nevertheless, Ishtar can actually be viewed as a different goddess completely if we look at how her followers proceed with their rituals or celebrations of her. Rika Affair is a professor of religion at the School Institute of Chicago, and her article, In a Ishtar, A Paradox and a Coincidence of Opposites. She tells us of how Ishtar's mythology and rituals really show her spontaneity or disorder within her nature. As we read the Epic of Gilgamesh, we noticed that Ishtar proposed to King Gilgamesh, and he said no. He said no because of her past actions, with her past lovers ending up in unusual fates. During the Ishtar-Gilgamesh struggle, there were very random moments between the two, which really shows how chaotic Ishtar is as a person. This is further emphasized in the festivals that her followers threw. These festivals didn't just tolerate disorder. They really tried to break the boundaries when it came to social class and age. They proceeded to play in children's games for all ages, such as tag or disappear, as well as while holding the festival, they would wear lion masks and capes, which would be pretending to be lionesses, Ishtar's symbol or her animal. Obviously, Ishtar is known for playing on the battlefield, but this really translates to her festival being a very, not so childish, but more of a chaotic in nature. In brief, while they are very similar goddesses of war and love, Ishtar and Astarte are different. Astarte and Ishtar have the same motifs at certain points of time, being the warrior and the goddesses of love. This may have fused over time or diffused over time. Astarte can really be seen as an evolution of a specific concept of Ishtar, which would be her goddess of love, just not the erotic side. And this really made her her own separate entity. Ishtar is fundamentally a chaotic goddess, as illustrated by both celebration and her role in the Epic of Gilgamesh. We can see that Ishtar and Astarte are very similar goddesses in nature. However, they can be very different. You could say that Astarte and Ishtar were of the same cloth, but what they were wove to is what makes them different. Thank you.